good. That's June. Not yet.
Tracy. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Back to me. Yeah, it took me forever.
Yeah. But is Eric gonna be here in person?
He is supposed to be, yes, I talked to him on the phone today, and he is supposed to be.
Okay.
We will, good. It is now 6 o'clock, Thursday, August 12th, on call order of Grayson County Board of Supervisors. Smith, we do the invocation for the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Father, we come to you this afternoon, thanking you for all the blessings of life that you bestow upon us each day. And we pray for a special protection on our county and our citizens as the virus seems to be coming back. We just pray that you'd be with each one, protect our power. Pray that you'd be with our board tonight as we conduct the business of the county, each one, and the ones that are here to participate, and our audience out there online. We thank you for each one and their participation and their interest in our county. We pray that you be with us in this meeting. For it's in your name we pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, appreciate it. We'll move on to the agenda. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the agenda, consent agenda with the following changes. Recommend we table the resolution amendment for the local retirement option, the agreement relating to Mr. Cox, and also the Ridgeline Development resolution.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. So we will, those three items, we will table to next month. All right. Great. We are in.
You have anything to say this? Is there anything timing wise that is affected?
Do we need to do Ronald's? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. I'm just kind of caught by surprise.
We have a motion on the floor.
Have a motion and a second. Table those three items already on the floor. So, here, all in favor, aye.
Discussion.
Yeah, do we need to discuss? Well, I guess should we discuss?
Yeah.
Or
Grayson was gonna call.
No, I didn't. I wasn't, we're just puzzled, we don't know what has happened, we just wish we could get some feedback on, maybe on what happened, because we're just kind of caught off guard on that one.
we tabled the two resolutions so we could get some information on them. And then Ronald Cox was part of the retirement option, correct?
It needs you to speak up, Lisa.
I don't want to step out of turn, but I'll be glad to, when it's time for new business, I'll be glad to share with you the information that supports both the resolution and the agreement.
The problem is we have none of that information to read ahead prior to the meeting, and you're asking us to make a decision. That's why it's taken.
Sure.
It's a hell of a way to run a railroad, frankly.
Well,
Well, it's a very rude comment, don't appreciate the lack of professionalism.
And I don't appreciate the lack of staff work.
let's, can we move to new, when we get to new business, can you explain a little bit about it then?
Sure.
Okay.
I didn't want to step out of order for new business.
Well, can we
Mr. Chairman, if we need to put it back on the agenda, we can make a motion to do that. We can approve the agenda with the table, but we can make a motion to allow her to present relevant information.
I have a motion to bring that back so Ms. Gayheart can explain a little bit.
Okay.
What I would, if I could clarify what I think you want to know about is the information related to the changes to the plan, specific, not the action on this.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I hear a motion to bring that back up. All in favor, aye. Okay. Moving right along, public hearing. We have none. Reports, presentations, 6:05, we can get Mr. Morley. All right, let's just give one more time, we'll go to Allison Burchett.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and Board, it's my pleasure tonight to introduce, I don't know that you all officially met Allison Burchett yet, who is our new web GIS person. She's been with us since about June. She's been doing some very good work. And we've been getting comments from staff that's working with her, positive comments with staff that's working with her. And we've been seeing some positive things. And so we just thought it was time that maybe since she's been with us since June, that you all meet her and let her show you just a little small presentation, PowerPoint presentation on some of the things that she's working on. So, Allison.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. I'm Allison. Like you said, I'm in Freeze now and lived here for about 8 years and recently went back to school and studied GIS, and I'm excited to have this position, and I expect great things from what I'm learning and what I've been doing. So
It's gonna take out. It's still open.
he's pulling up our presentation now, but I know one of the primary duties of my position is to help correct the web GIS, because I know that's a pretty big issue. So I'll definitely be talking about some of the things I'm doing with that. I'm working with Brian at Hurt and Profit.
Next one.
All right, so like I said, I've been working on to correct a lot of the errors. my second day here, Brian sent me a list of 1,159 parcels that were either not matched or errors in the web GIS.
Hang on.
Oh,
Hang on.
man, that was first time. So out of those 1,100, I've already went through about 300, corrected 125 of those already. They've been sent in to Brian to be updated. And some of those issues I'm seeing is there's issues where it's mislabeled. There's issues where vacating lines where people have combined their land and now it's all mapped under one number versus where before it had been two separate. So now you see on the survey, it had this D on the back. Now it's had the C where the house is. Well, he's vacated the lines. It's combined under one. Now it's mapped all as one. So that was an example of how I corrected that one. Then another issue I'm seeing, yes.
Allison, this is Tom Reynolds. If you look at the 1100 era that you, in the data you looked at so far, is it a process problem? Is it the fact people just haven't followed the defined process to submit information to help create accuracy in the system? Is it a delay in entry of information? Tell me what you think has led to this, and have we done something to fix that process?
Right, so I'm working towards implementing like a more standardized, I guess, way to go about it. Some of these issues are, they're not really necessarily anything that could be streamlined per se. It's just, they've just been kind of tossed aside. Nobody's really taken the time to look through these issues or why they might be, and it's just been kind of overlooked for so long, I believe. They piled up. Now, some of those are issues, the way that, it's entered in the computer, there's human error, typos, stuff like that, it takes a person looking through the deeds and the real estate to kind of match it together. Another part of that list, there was about 250 unknown map numbers. So when they first did this, set up the GIS, we have all of these unknowns. It could be a road has went through, split something off. In this case, you have an old cemetery that was marked as unknown, but if you look at the older tax map, you can tell it's Patton Cemetery. Some of those are easy fixes. You can see it right away. Some of them take a little bit longer looking through the deeds in the real estate database.
Are you able to make any of those changes, or does it all have to go to her profit?
Unfortunately, it all has to go to her and profit. That's one thing I've kind of, working with Carl and seeing if we can kind of take back some of that. Because I feel like, just that past issue, if I had access, I would be able to go in and change it. Just, click a button.
What's the limitation of you being able to do that? Because it seems like we're paying them a lot of money for something they haven't been doing, not individual attack, just.
No, I definitely understand that because I was kind of thinking the same thing when I started. It's not necessarily something that they're not doing. It's just, I definitely agree. There needs to be a work together to figure out some way to do it more efficient.
And that's what we're hoping that Allison will help us with, where we've not had web GIS. She's getting in there and figuring out where we're at and what we have going on, and there needs to be a point. And I think her and Profit, Brian Powell, is okay with this. There comes a time where there is some things that she can take over, whereas before we didn't have anybody to do it, so Brian had to do it all down at Hurt and Profit. So now we're going to get
months ago, when you explained the process, there was a process in place. The information just wasn't getting sent to Hurt and Profit except once every month. Now we're doing it every couple of months, and maybe even faster. It's
Every 2 weeks.
easier, but
Yeah.
there was a process that wasn't working. And so what is it that they bring to the game that she can't do right now? It's not like they own the database, do they? They don't own the imagery that we're updating on, do they?
No, that we have hired them to do all of it at this point, but there's going to come a point, and we're leaning on Allison's expertise and her knowledge of where is that point that she feels like she can handle. Is it a third of it? Is it half of it? Or, I think we're always gonna have hurt and profit for certain things.
Right, I don't
But
think it's
we're
necessarily.
still in the process of figuring out what it is. And I think that can be worked on and changed in the near future.
Yeah, it's definitely not necessarily a bad thing to have hurt and profit because, I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the other counties they've done, they work with as well. And I think it's a good thing that we can work with them, but I'm hoping to take back some of that, where they're wrong. And if it's a line adjustment, how can I be able to correct that versus having to send it in and kind of be the middleman,
And I think one of these days, Supervisor Fant, it will take another sit-down meeting like we did before Allison was here. That we come in this room, we sit down and we determine, okay, where are the boundaries? What can we work? What does she feel comfortable with that we can do? And we start that process of saying, okay, now we don't necessarily need you to name Patton Cemetery or to change this adjustment line, this boundary line for us. So we're headed there. We're aware of that. I think we'll get there sooner than later with the way she's ramping up and the work that she's performed to this point. I think we'll be there sooner than later in a meeting with them and sitting down. And I find Hurt and Profit and Brian Powell to be very open to, they're going to do what we feel like they need us to do, and they're there to help us.
Yeah, they've been.
Yes.
This is Tom. Is what they bring, are they bringing technical expertise that we don't have? Or are they helping us handle a volume of work that we can't handle? Or is it a combination?
Up to this point, they've been handling all of it because we've not had a web GIS person. And we.
Yeah, no, but
Yes.
now that we have one though, what will they bring to the table that Allison can't do?
That's what we're in the process of leading up to. I think, and I'm not a web GIS expert, but I think there will still be things that we have to have Hurt and Profit to do for us in web GIS because other counties have them, hired out to do certain things. But I think the volume of work that they're doing for us is going to, I think, be drastically cut because of who we have here and what, do you agree with that, Allison?
I do.
And what you're able to do for us.
Yeah, Allison just said that it wouldn't be bad to have her profit. Allison, specifically, I'd like you to address this question.
Okay.
What is it they bring to the table that you need?
Well, they bring to the table, they're able to join the databases. The real estate database is joined to their hosted web GIS, essentially. So we have our database and they are joining on the parcel data to host the shapefile, basically.
So all they're doing is hosting a database?
They're doing more than that right now because we're sending them all the corrections. They're updating them out.
No, but I mean, if all they're really doing, because we didn't have you, is we're paying for them to host information that belongs to us, it seems like that's not a really good reason to keep them.
Well, not just that, they're correcting things as well. And
I feel like that Carl, who has been working with them too, would probably be the better one to answer that question at this point. Just nothing against Allison, but because she's only been here since June.
I'm still
I
learning
think
how everything's working together.
Carl and Larry, our Commissioner of Revenue, would probably be, and
Tiffany, yeah.
Tiffany, that's the three experienced ones up to this point. That probably the question right now is kind of, I feel like probably unfair to ask her. We could probably get a better answer from Carl and Larry and Tiffany, who has been working with Hurt and Profit for several months.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, they've been working with for longer than that, but I mean, I understand this is not, I know you're new in the job, but I think from the direction and the goal of what we're after with this, is that not only do we want a more accurate GIS database, But if we're paying for money to an organization that really hasn't been achieving what it is we need, then we're kind of wasting taxpayer money.
And, yeah, and we're only 10 weeks into the process.
We're 10 weeks into it with her,
Yeah.
not 10 weeks into GIS. GIS has been a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
A year ago, the real estate
And
folks
this is
came
the
here and
route,
told us it was a
this is
problem.
the route we're taking
I
to
understand.
change it.
I understand.
And we're only 10 weeks into that process, so the question's a little bit,
It's not from the standpoint of we've got to have a goal that's set that should be articulated by the county administration.
absolutely.
That's
Agree
the
completely.
issue, and I'm not sure we're really clear what it is our goal is right now, other than to get an accurate GIS database.
10 weeks in, I think we're still figuring out where we're at and what all we have and we're dealing with. And we're gonna get there, but I don't think 10 weeks in, we're there yet.
Does the use of hurt and profit have anything to do with the amount of hours that you work per week? Like how many hours per week are you exactly?
24.
She's
24.
Yeah, so
So
it's
would
not
that-
full time.
Does it have to do with, like if you were 40 hours a week, would hurt and profit still be needed?
To a point, yes, until I'm able to understand exactly how everything works and, be able to take on the responsibilities that they currently have now.
And your questions are very valid, and I think when we sit down with Carl and Larry and Brian at Hurt and Profit and Allison, we're gonna come to the conclusion, how much do we need? I guess my question will be just like you, it's gonna come to a point, how much do we need Hurt and Profit? Do we need them at all? How much do we need them? And it's coming there soon.
Yeah, this is Tom again. What I would like to know, and again, I think this is a question that multiple people need to put their heads together. Allison, you, maybe even Hurt Profit, I don't know. I want to know, what is it we need to have in place to maintain an accurate system?
And that's the ultimate goal.
I definitely would like to have
And
some
when-
standards put in place.
Yeah, and when can we have that answer? I mean, we're only 10 weeks in, I understand that, but what's your timeline for coming back to us to say, if you want an accurate GIS system, here's what has to be in place? When can you answer that question?
Hopefully after I have a meeting with everybody and Brian at Hurt and Profit, I still have yet to meet him. I've just been communicating with Brian through email and phone.
Can you?
And
what's that, Mitch?
I think that we reasonably could have that answer in the next couple of months. We still have people that Allison needs to meet. Just today, I said to Allison, I want you to meet Don Dudley. I want you to meet the 2 or 3 different surveyors that come here, and some of those have had problems. And I said, I'd like for you to get a sit-down meeting with them in your office and just hear what they got to say for 5 or 10 minutes. We might learn a lot from them also. So that's another step that we're going to take in this process, and sitting down with the people that we work with and learning what they have to say. But I think within the next 2 months, we could definitely have we have to work with the Commissioner of Revenue too, but I think we could have a sit-down meeting with, just like we did to start this process, and figure out that we need what we need to, where we needed to go with it, in Harry and Allison. I think we could do that and hopefully have an answer for you all. And what's this, August, September, October, have you answer by the November meeting, if not before.
Let me ask you a question. And again, I always hate to do this, but it's the only thing I can think of. I swapped square foot, part of my property with another landowner that joined me about 2 years ago. And Don Dudley surveyed that property and filed that in the appropriate county office. Today, the GIS system does not reflect that. Why is that?
I would say that's why that is because there's not been a process. I've found lots of surveys that were, stamped before dated by Will. He's got his name on it, that were land that was subdivided that should have been turned over to Herd Profit after it was on record here. Once something gets on record here, if it's not already in there, there needs to be some kind of way to send that in, whether it's through me eventually or Herd Profit today.
And to be honest with you, Supervisor Evans, I think because we didn't have a gatekeeper, we didn't have someone on the job looking at these things, it was piecemealed by whoever. And Will, Jada, Commissioner of Revenue's office, it was just whoever doing what they felt like they needed to do. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of things fell through the crack. And that's why the board of supervisors, rightly so, said, we got to do something. We're getting too many complaints. There's too many things. How come it takes so long to do this? Or how come this has never been done? And that's why that, and like I say, rightly so, you all brought it to the attention and said, we need to do this. And that's when we formed that committee and we sat down and met with Brian, and what was supposed to be a 2-hour meeting ended up being an all-day meeting. And Brian ended up staying with the commissioner and Carl and things. And that's when the ball slowly started rolling to the point to where we are today. And I'm excited about where we're at and how much we got a long ways to go. But I'm excited about the things that we've done just in 10 weeks.
Supervisor Record? Yeah, this is Carl. I was brought it in. I wanted to join in and answer any questions that the Board of Supervisors had with the GIS.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Yeah, Carl, let me make one last comment. And I'm not piling on. I understand the issues, Mitch, that you're describing, but when you come back to us and tell us what you need, I also want to have a written statement of the process that will be followed to maintain the accuracy of that system. I think that, to me, that's a key part of this, because I understand what you're saying, Mitch, and I'm not surprised that we really didn't have a defined, standard, disciplined process. It was one person would do it, the other person might do it, somebody wouldn't do it. Nobody had responsibility for making the system work. So just put that in the back of your mind when you come back to us and tell us what you need. I'd like to see a written process that we can understand that will ensure the accuracy of the system.
And we agree completely with that statement. Will said, we did not come into this with policies and procedure and all. It's all being built as we speak in this, and 10 weeks in and only 3 days a week. It's not a full-time job. But yeah, yes, we agree completely that we should have that.
Yeah, and Mr. Fitz, and Allison, don't go ahead. Yeah, Allison, don't misunderstand. I applaud what you're doing, and you're a breath of fresh air to help us move in the right direction. But I really think it's important that you help us understand what the process should be and what is the resource commitment to make that process work.
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you for your effort.
Agree completely.
Mr. Caldwell, did you have something to add to them?
Carl?
Losing?
I'm here, sorry, it's raining here. So let me, I'm gonna take a step back to answer Supervisor Vance's question about why do we still need Herd Profit. The main reason is the hosting. They host the data, and that's what you see, with other localities using them to host the data. The data, they have the space where they can host the huge amounts of files that's, for these. The other reason is also what Allison had touched upon was the real estate. They actually go into the real estate files that Tiffany has sent to them, and they're files from our AS400 system that put in the information on the parcels. Like this information is like, the values, the owners and the addresses. Now what we and what Allison is wanting to do is to be able to get these, like some of the inaccuracies that we're seeing with the drawings of the parcels, where they're just flat out, incorrect, where she can go in and adjust the lines. The property line might run along a fence, and it's obvious from what she investigates what is wrong, but right now what she's having to do is like kind of draw a markup of where the property line should be, and then sends that to Brian to get it corrected. That's the part where she's wanting to go into and actually correct it and get it fixed, and that would happen immediately on the WebGIS.
Carl, I understand that we need herd and profit right now, but what I'm not clear on is what the end state is, other than we want to have a better GIS system. And so end state to me in one regard has to do with accuracy of the information, but it also has to do with, from a cost perspective, whether or not having herd and profit as the hosting agency, if that really makes sense going forward. Because ultimately, it's not just GIS, it's the relationship between the health department, the clerk of court, the commissioner of revenue's office, all that information flowing in together to keep these maps updated so they're much more layered and useful, as you articulated a couple months ago. And so that's really what it is. It's not to see whether or not why we need them today. It's, do we need to continue that relationship as it exists right now, down the road, as she and you and everybody else around here grow into improving this. That's really what it's about. And that's what I'm not really clear on.
Correct.
Okay.
And there is some cost savings there where if Allison takes care of these, we don't have to pay her profit to do the corrections. So right now we send the corrections to them.
Correct.
They make it, and we still have to pay them.
Correct.
So they're cost savings that we want to do right now. Allison is ready to go with that.
Exactly. And there's probably more to be harvested, but that's it. Thanks, Cole.
Okay, and we're finding these out, like Mr. Smith said, with Allison in this position here, and we're learning her capabilities and what she can do, and we're going to fine tune this, and back to Supervisor Rebels, where we do need a process, and I agree that if we had a standardized process of what we're responsible for, what we do, and then and keep honing in on that and toning it down to where we can do a lot more of the streamlining that we had talked about when we did this initial presentation.
Okay, you got somebody else?
Okay, I just wanted to follow up with, some current future ideas. There's a lot more that GIS can be used for, just besides, and besides just the parcel data. So I'm hoping to help the county, come realize that, well, I'm sure you do realize that it's just not been utilized the way that it could be. So some of my ideas are, I've already assisted tourism, some planning department. There's different areas that I'm seeing that there's a definite need. I'd love to do some static maps for the county, just some, quick informational, like even with the crime mapping, the public utilities, public safety. There's different things that you could do besides just have it hosted on WebGIS. You can have like a map series basically of, voter districts, schools and fire departments and churches. There's all different kinds of, even trash routes. Other counties, you look at their data and they've got their trash routes mapped out. I was looking at Galax today, they have different routes like that, things that could be of use for the public.
Awesome. Our project at Bradford University was on, I think, a map for the volunteerism.
Fire DMS, yep. Yeah, I did a network analysis of the drive times away from every fire department. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Alan.
Glad to have you.
Uh,
It may not sound like that, but we're glad to have you.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, moving along, Mr. Rick Morley. That's phone report.
Well, I want to first say, I'm so sorry I was late. I hate getting late. And the second thing I want to say is you've been cheated, okay? Because my wife was supposed to be here and, you know, she would have given a much better presentation. She's kind of a force of nature, so, you know, setting your expectations. She did, however, give me notes because I'm kind of stupid, you know. But my name's Eric Morley. I'm a new Virginia resident and here to talk about and answer your questions about the farmers market project. And Gash asked me to first thank all of you and the county for the use of the Gate Center. That's just huge. And, you know, feeding those timber framers, it seems so silly, but you know, you're bringing 60 volunteers into town. They're working for free. And at the end of it, what they really remember is the food, right? And when you're lifting oak timber, you know, you're exhausted. You need a lot of calories. So, and I really think if it hadn't been for the Gate Center, you know, I don't think it would happen. So that's what we'd like to say thank you. I mean, that's really a big deal. And I think Jen mentioned, no, Rick, Katie mentioned that something like 1,640 meals that they're going to prepare. It's a lot. So that was my first thing I wanted to do was to, you know, thank the county for that. The second thing was to introduce you to the Timber Framers Guild. And then thirdly, just to answer any questions you might have. Okay. So, are there any questions so far? The Timber Framers Guild is an organization, it's a nonprofit organization, about 2,500 members all across the world. And I've been a member for 20-some years. I'm a lifetime member. And it's the best group of people I've ever been involved with. I mean, you know, and it's dedicated to teaching timber framing and helping people. And so I should probably say what timber framing is when I say that, maybe. But timber framing is the art of connecting, and science of connecting two pieces of big wood, right, without metal, really. Traditional timber framing would do mortise and tenon joinery with a wooden peg, 1-inch oak peg. And it died out. It died out in the 1800s when we invented the stud, the sawmills, and we ran metal nails. You know, and it was just, that's a cheaper, more efficient way to build. And I guess it was the 70s. These guys don't mind me saying this. It was a bunch of hippies, and they got really interested in taking down old barns, you know, up in New England. And they're like, this is really a neat way to build, you know. And so it kind of, that's what started a revival of timber framing in North America. It's still a tiny niche, but you know, I don't know of a more beautiful way to build or more long-lasting way to build. So I'm currently the vice president of the board of directors at the Guild. And I used to, for 20 years, I lived in Boone, and I always thought, you know, gosh, wouldn't it be neat if Boone had a really proper farmer's market and a timber frame farmer's market. And I never did anything about it, but the Guild does these community build projects. So once in a while, somewhere in the world, right? I mean, they've been to Poland, they've been all over. They'll decide to do a community build project. And so everyone, the volunteers come somehow or other, they always come. And something amazing happens in that community. You know, something gets built that wouldn't have gotten built before. And so, like I said, I moved here and we started talking about it, you know, and it kind of went off the table. And I am just, I'll admit, I am so happy and excited about this project. I just really am. It's, and you probably don't know what to expect. And so that's what I was trying to bring a little bit, you know, to you. So it's all of a sudden you get 60, 70, mostly bearded guys, okay? To be honest, timber framers always seem to have beards. Their wives, a fair amount of, also lately, you know, women timber framers, everybody comes together. And these tractor trailer loads of wood, okay, of heavy timber are gonna arrive here. I think it's 3 tractor trailer loads. End of September is I think the date. And there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes right now. Okay, it's being engineered, it's being drawn, all this, the details. And these volunteers are gonna come and it's gonna look like chaos. Okay? I mean, there's gonna be pieces of wood everywhere, you know, and you know, you're actually, they're gonna take the stick, the wood, look at the drawing, you know, and say, okay, here's this mark, and they'll put it in pencil, you know, another one. And so forth. They'll mark every timber. They'll cut them, put them together. The crane eventually will come, you know, and this thing will go up. Okay. And as I've looked at the detailed shop drawings from the engineer, this is really gonna be beautiful. It's really gonna be an amazing structure. So with that said, I think, you know, I've been to a number of these. It's really hard to describe it. And I tried to do that in a short 2-minute video on a project we did up in New York. And I wondered if we could just watch that video. Because it'll give you an idea what this is like. I'm going to turn off the lights too.
Not sure if we'll have sound.
What?
Not sure if we'll have sound. Do you want me to try to stop and get you some sound, or do you want to hear it?
Oh, right. If you can maximize it and start again. If I also have it on here, if it's you got any problem.
I'll get back this way.
So this project is in Schuylerville, New York, which I still can't spell. But it's basically I'm having trouble with that. Is it not playing?
It's
got a max retention. Try that. If Gesh was here, my wife, okay, this is not what would have happened. It would have gone just perfectly, you know, no flaws, no problems.
Okay, can you certainly fix it?
Supervisor Fan, this would be a good time for a question.
Okay, so what's the time frame from when they show up? You're expected to get the project done in how long?
It's about 10 days.
10 days of cutting wood and standing stuff up.
Yeah.
And if I remember the drawing, you have a stage and there's also where the farmer's market sort of thing. Are you all doing both of them or just one of them, or what's the?
We're doing both. The stage has just a little bit of timber in it. It's mostly conventionally built.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were mostly the pavilion for the farmer's market?
Yes, that'll be priority one.
Okay.
There you go.
Right.
You have any sound on?
I'll take a minute to switch them out if you really want some.
No, that's okay. So the project's on the Hudson River up in New York. Schuylerville is the way you pronounce it. And so, but it was a historical gateway visitor center for the canals. Okay, and there's a project manager for this case, Neil. You see some of the key people moving through it, but you can see the footprint, the deck there. And the timber frame at this point has been cut and everything is lying down on the deck. So, and actually they're having a safety meeting that morning. And you'll see it's very professionally done safety meetings every day. Talking about the plan for the day. And in timber framing, they call it a cross section through the timber frame is called a bent, B-E-N-T. So those are all stacked on the deck. And in this case, they're kind of showing off and raising it the old-fashioned way because there was an engineer who is great at this and he just loves to do it. But as you'll see, he only does a little bit of this. So it was just fun, you know.
So they do that just for fun, but the majority of it is through hydraulics.
It is, exactly, yes. And in this case, there were, I think it was a congressman who came down and made a presentation, and there she is, Kathleen. Just some of the people, and like I said, this was just a quick video to kind of give you an idea of what it's like, but. Then I went out Saturday morning and I thought, okay, I want to find out a little bit about the area. And this guy, Larry Gordon, took me around and showed me all sorts of neat things, including the bell coming up here from the USS Saratoga. Now, there's the crane, okay, taking over from that gin pole. And you can see there's a lot of progress made quickly. And as we zoom in here, you can start to see some of that joinery. Let's see, maybe go back just a tad there if you could. Yeah, that's a scarf joint where the two timbers are interconnected to make one very long plate. And this guy up top's getting ready to drive one of the pegs. Go ahead. This will just show you, how big this structure is. By the way, it's a lot better with music rather than my voice. But anyway,
Eric, is this similar in size to
what we're doing is bigger. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but similar bill. So overview of it. In this case, it was fun. I put a camera up on the crane ball, so that's what we're seeing. That was the former president of the guild. There's the completed structure Sunday. Again, this was about a roughly 2-week deal as well. And there you can see, just let play if you would, yeah. You can see the joinery and then coming through the upstairs of the structure. And there was this little kid there holding up his thumbs. hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea what one of these is like, but it's kind of magic, to be honest, what it does, watching these people come. And I always worry, you sit there and go, gosh, we're gonna have the volunteers, and they always come. So right now, I think we have 24 signed up, I think, and we need 60, we'll have 60, so. Anybody locally who would be interested, you can go on the Timber Framers Guild website, and there's a place for you to sign up. If I've been told to offer you all, if anyone would like to volunteer on the frame, that the guild will comp a membership in the Timber Framers Guild to that person, so. And that's it. I'd like to see
I have a
questions.
question, sir. Will you video Grayson County's project and maybe use it somewhere else for us? Can you do that?
Well, Supervisor, actually, that's so neat you asked that, because videoing and telling these stories is what is my contribution, and that's what I intend to do for the county.
Great.
Except it's going to be a whole lot better once you just saw. And I'm going to interview people, have people telling their stories. I really try to do a great job.
Thank you.
That's great.
You mentioned, the support the county's given with the Gate Center, the use of the Gate Center. Is there some other support at this point that you can think of? I know that's primarily in the town, and the town's got most of it, but is there something else from the county that you need help with, or you might need help with that we could offer?
Supervisor Fan,
I'm
never
not
would turn
trying
anything
to
down.
put you on the spot. I guess it's more of an open question, that if there is support, if there is additional stuff that the town or something, that if you think the county can help you in some way or some fashion. Like, for example, you went and interviewed that guy that was, kind of running the Erie Canal lock or whatever. If there's some things that the county might be able to set up to help the timber framers go see parts of the county that may not be part of the plan, I don't know if that's something that you would need with.
Welcome wholeheartedly, anything. I appreciate you asking. I'm probably speaking out of turn. I don't speak for the Timber Framers Guild, I'm just on the board, right? But as a new resident of Grayson County, I love this place. Okay? And as a marketing person, telling stories in photography and video, there's just this, it feels to me like this is a story, right? I could imagine reading it in the New York Post or the New York Times or something even, okay? Gosh, there's this organization that brings volunteers, and they go and they put these incredible structures up. That's a story, And the Guild is terrible at promotion, absolutely awful. I mean, and that's the one thing I've done as a board director is try to say, okay, what can I do? And it's try to help them. But this won't be a story 2 years from now. Oh, there's this cool town in Virginia that did this cool thing 2 years ago. Okay, that won't be a story anymore. It's a story now, while it's happening. And I think, so if there's a way somehow that somebody can help me get that word out, I'll end up, I really think at the end of this, we'll have a great video. But if there was a way to get it out more. And the other thing I would think is, these are people, these are craftspeople who really love woodworking. If there's some old buildings, okay, that in the county that might be timber framed or might just be really neat buildings, the project managers will keep these volunteers working hard. I mean, there's a ton of board footage to cut. But, a Sunday afternoon to be able to go out and see something like that would be really neat. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Kelly.
Eric, let's have a follow-up meeting with, along with Gash. I had meeting with Gesh and with Michelle, which would sort of help get us connected into the whole thing, but let's do a follow-up meeting, see how we can help with the marketing piece of this as you move forward.
Well, thank you. And thanks for this opportunity to do a very mediocre job compared to what Gesh would do. So,
What was that website again?
I'm so sorry.
The website to.
Oh, it's the timber frame, I think I know, tfguild.org. And you can go to the community build workshops section of that, and then there'll be a link there to sign up. Or there's supposed to be anyway. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man. And I'll call Cash and tell you did just fine.
Thank you, John. Can I stay or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, moving along to old business, reimbursement from VDOT.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Okay, y'all remember, Danny coming to us and, the project they're working on with the, sheep. And, so this is part of that. And, now they need a $5,000 check, and it has to come from the county. And our commitment is $1,000 plus $1,000 in kind. So when we got the $5,000 request, we knew that was not going to fly, so we did some homework. And basically, Steve Burson, the manager of Office of Agriculture and Forest Development, sent me this response, and it's a legit ask, according to him. Mitch thought I would follow up in writing on our conversation from last week. We called him, Linda and I talked to him on the phone, and he was kind enough to put it in writing with an email. About the $5,000 reimbursement request for the county aphid planting grant award. As we discussed, we have to award these funds on a reimbursement basis. Per the approved project application, the county is not on the hook for any more than $1,000 in cash and $1,000 of staff time. What we knew we were committed to. However, we need the county to make payments as approved in the work plan, which is the $5,000 payment. And thereafter, we will reimburse the county. And he said, as you're explaining that to the board, he said, once that's approved to write the check and they understand what's going on, he said, you can get your finance person to take a photo of that check, send it to me. And he said, before we even get the check, he said, I'll go ahead and do the reimbursement check from us back to the county. So it's just a process. He said it's in the work plan, how they have to do things, and approved in the work plan. And that's what he needs us to do. So we're not on any more, we're not on the hook for any more money. This is just a pass through.
Who approved the work plan? Because we committed $1,000 cash and $1,000 in kind. We didn't approve the work plan saying we floated $5,000 to get $4,000 back. So who said that we would sign up for that?
We'll get the full 5,000 back. And then we'll do the check for 1,000. Have we done that check for 1,000 yet?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we have yet, but we'll actually do the $1,000. But this is a separate work plan payment that was in the work plan. I don't know if Danny failed to tell us that as he was presenting his plan. I don't know if it was in there and he just failed to mention it as a detail. I'm not sure what happened there. If it was in there all along, he failed to mention it, but I just knew that we committed to $1,000 of county money and $1,000 in-kind match. And as I was talking to Steve Gerson, I said, hey, the board of supervisors is not gonna buy anything more than what they committed to. And I said, now you're asking us to write a $5,000 check when we only have $1,000 commitment. And I said, that's gonna be hard to explain. And that's when he said, it's a work plan. It's just a reimbursement. You're going to get your money back. Send me a photocopy. I'll have your check coming to you before I even get yours. So I don't know what happened in the work that Danny didn't explain to us this detail. But when we got it, we were surprised. That's why we made the call. That's why we got him to put it in writing that, this is not what we committed to your point, Supervisor Van. That's exactly what we said. This is not what we committed to.
So if we don't approve that pass-through, what happens?
It will go forward. He said it has to go through the county. The 5,000 pass-through has
Well,
to
if it
go.
was so important that it has to happen, it should seem like it was important enough to tell us in advance.
I agree. I'm just the bearer of I had the same questions with them. I didn't want to defend the project or set the project up to fail. So all I just wanted to tell you all what happened and how we looked at it and how we took it to him and what his answer back was.
Well, I'm of the opinion that we committed to $1,000, and I'm committed to supporting that. We didn't approve this work plan. First time we're hearing about a 5,000 pass-through. I just, without more information and rationale, I should support it. That's my.
If it's that quick, can he send us the check first? And we send him one if that's just a pass through. I mean, there's nothing wrote down that he's gonna send us that check. Can he send his first?
We can go back and, but he said, we can go back and ask that.
I just don't understand, if he's got the money, just then spend the money.
Yeah.
Well, why does it gotta pass through us? We're not even involved in that part of it.
Formality.
I'm not,
No, and I'm not defending. I was actually you that day on the phone saying, hey, we committed to 1,000. Why are we getting asked to give 5,000? So
Is this time being the essence on this money?
I didn't hear that, but I do know that if it's not handled this way, it sounded like to me that the project's not gonna go forward.
What I'm saying, if we did the 1,000 and then we get some more information by next meeting, is that too late?
I would have to ask that. I don't think it would be, but, I don't know.
Any questions?
I just don't really understand our role. I thought our whole role in this whole thing was signing up to say we're committing $1,000 so you all can get your thing from the governor, but the Blue Ridge Plateau was kind of running this. They're their nonprofit. I don't understand this whole thing. I know it's only $5,000, and I know it's supposed to be a pass-through. It just doesn't pass. It just doesn't smell right.
That's exactly what I said. I agree. You're preaching to the choir.
We'll make a motion.
What, it doesn't smell right?
Same way, so they can research it.
Well, about $1,000, we committed to that.
Yeah, we're committed, and they understand that, and Steve understands that, I said, the county's on the hook for $1,000, we approved that, but we didn't approve $5,000.
contract for him, so.
And
we
he
could go ahead
went
with
in,
the
he went on to assure, he just said, well, I want to reassure you that there's no problem in getting the money back. It's a reimbursement thing in the work plan that the county has to do it, and we reimburse the county. There'll be no problem. You know, so that's all I can tell you is what he told me, but
Mr.
to your
Chairman, if you'd
point,
like a motion that we are committed to supporting with the $1,000 that we agreed to and the $1,000 in kind. That's the motion.
table the file till we get more info.
I even said to Ms. Osborne that if it's a $5,000 reimbursement request, Mr. Danny Boyer should come and make the request, could come and do a redo.
We have a motion on the floor. For your second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Mr. Chairman, if it's the pleasure of the board, I would like to reach out to Mr. Danny Boyer and tell him that he needs to come back and clear up any misunderstandings. And if he has a different request than already been approved, he needs to make it.
I don't remember that when he came. I mean, we probably bring up the minutes and from the recording.
No, this was completely surprise. This was not part of it.
Mr. Chairman, shouldn't we just say, like, as I think you all have agreed to, that we're committing $1,000 to this, and that's the end of the story? That's it. Yeah. That's it.
$1,000 and in kind for $1,000.
Okay, and that could very well, the way Steve Burson put it, that could be the end of the project because of how it has to happen. And that's not it.
That's right.
Yeah,
We
that's
didn't
not
approve
us.
their work plan. We didn't, this wasn't our miss on the
Yeah.
attention to detail. This was never talked about before.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but they gotta figure it out.
Yeah, we don't want to be on the line for $5,000.
Well, and we asked that very specific question to Danny Boyer when he was here.
We did.
All you are asking for is $1,000 from the county. He said, yes, that's it.
Yep.
Because that's what we need in order to qualify for the governor's grant, et cetera. That's what he said.
Yep.
I agree.
So,
Okay.
So we can call
We've
him
taken
and
our action.
let him know. Absolutely. Thank you.
Motion passed. Next, street and transfer in CSA funds for FY 22.
Okay, Ms. Eva?
As we had discussed previously, during budget work sessions, the CSA funding each year, there's kind of a hiccup with that. Those invoices that come in that should be from the prior year, that come in the following year, creating a specific fund for the CSA dollars and transferring the allocated monies each year will help clear up that hiccup. It will be a perpetual fund, and we will have that apparent overage when there's not an overage. It's just the timing of when the invoices come in. So just
would it be under the social services funding line? Where would this new line reside?
It would be a fund in itself. We have the general fund, which is 100, where you normally see all of the expenditures come from. This would be an individual fund, much like the water fund. That's, it's just all encompassing for itself. So we would transfer the FY 22 allocation from this year into that new fund, which is kind of its own checking account, just to use London's terms. Its own so it will have its own accounting measures.
Lisa,
Yes, sir.
the money to fund that line item, what year does that money, what year's budget does that money come out of?
The current request is for the fiscal year 22, the current year that we're in now, that's 700,000. And then if there's anything left over, we would ask that it stay there to cover any overage for future years. I'm kind of saving for the rainy days. If we save some this year, we can just let that roll over to future years. if we ever have another year, like we did about 3 years ago, where we were just hammered through CSA, with close to $1 million in expenses, we'll have those money, have that money put away for that. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Yeah, so it comes out of this year, 21, 22, it comes out of this year's budgeted dollars.
Correct.
And you're using that money to cover any carryover expenses, is that fair assessment?
Yes, it will help, it will help with the carryover, but it'll also create the carryover so that there's no overage or appearance of any overage.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, discussion? Are we looking for a motion for you to transfer this?
If it be your pleasure.
So moved.
Second.
So all in favor, aye? Aye. Okay, Luther. Thank you. Next resolution, COVID-19 response efforts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we wanted to recognize all the people in this county that came out and helped us manage the first part of this COVID-19 response. You know, it's indicative of the people of Grayson County that in the time of need, we can rely on them to step forward and volunteer and help out. So we wanted to read a resolution into the record, recognizing those volunteers for the work that they've done. We would have them here if we had a different situation, and that was our original plan, but we've had to make a change just recently due to the new variant. So with your permission, I'll just read the resolution. Resolution, citizens supporting the County of Grayson COVID-19 response efforts. Whereas Grayson County declared a state of emergency in response to the COVID-19 pandemic on March 17, 2020. And whereas Grayson County recognized that an appropriate COVID-19 response would strain the capabilities of the existing government organization. And whereas numerous citizens of the County of Grayson approached the county government offering effective and efficient services urgently needed in support of the COVID-19 response. And whereas the County of Grayson gratefully accepted the assistance of these citizens in support of their communities in numerous areas, including manufacturing and distribution of face coverings and personal protective equipment, creation and staffing of a COVID-19 helpline for the County of Grayson citizens, distribution of food to quarantined families, management and staffing of a County of Grayson COVID-19 Emergency Relief Fund, and support of COVID-19 testing and vaccination site operations. Now therefore be it resolved by the Grayson County Board of Supervisors that the County of Grayson recognizes and appreciates the critical contributions of many citizens who volunteered their services and time to the County of Grayson's COVID-19 response efforts in support of our families, neighbors, and communities. Adopted this 12th day of August 2021 in the County of Grayson, Virginia.
Okay. For motion to approve the resolution.
Second. I got a question.
Okay.
What's next? Does everybody kind of get a copy of this, or what's the plan to?
There's individual letters going to the primary people that interacted with us to help us out.
Will this be a part of that?
Yes,
Cool.
And Paul Hill is putting that together.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anything else? I don't have a motion on a second. This will be a roll call. Ms. Sutherland.
Aye.
Mr. Fan. Mr. Rebels. Mr. Ash. Ms. Rebels.
He's in the soundproof booth.
Tom.
Is in the code of silence.
Roll call on the resolution.
All right, I'm sorry, I did say aye, but I said it when Brenda said hers.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, good cover, man.
Yeah. All right, I am now also aye, so resolution passed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next, approval to advertise for public hearing for an ordinance establishing polling locations.
Yeah, Mitch is probably a combination of the two of us, but Stacy Rivas came to speak with us, and what is her exact title?
She's a registrar.
About, as she's preparing for the November elections, she was unable to find the documentation regarding polling locations that needs to be in place by ordinance as the Code of Virginia requires. She said she was not aware, being new to the job, that that was needed, and she came to us and asked us to make sure that that's in place as quickly as we could possibly put it in place. We have contacted our legal counsel in order to try to help us make sure that all the appropriate documentation on existing polling locations is in compliance with the ordinances of the Code of Virginia. And we're asking you, we're requesting that you support us having a public hearing in order to discuss this or have any public comment on what we're doing. What we're trying to do is to make sure that all of the documents are in place leading up to the election. And what Stacy's saying is she can't locate some of the documents that needed to be in place before, and she's asking the county to assist her in making sure that all the ordinances are in place appropriately prior to the November election.
And this has to happen before September the 3rd, so it will require a public hearing that will be advertising very shortly, the 20th and 27th, something like that, and then we'll have to have a called meeting right after that with the board, either on the 26th, the 30th, or the 31st, where there will have to be a quorum present to do this.
And I asked our legal counsel, I said, well, summarize what we're doing exactly. He said, what you're doing is basically housekeeping. You're making sure you've got all the official documents in place. And it sounds like from what Stacy's reporting there, they haven't existed in the past. They need to be in place.
So there's a public hearing. Are we the ones hosting that initial public hearing?
Ms. Osborne will be advertising in the paper the next 2 weeks, 20th, 27th, I remember. 18th and 25th. And then those dates afterward will be when we have to have at least 3 board members in a special meeting to have the public hearing. And all this is in timing to get it in place before September 3rd, which is a requirement of our legal
Has
advice.
to be 60 days before the next election.
Discussion. Motion to approve to advertise for public hearing. All in favor, aye.
Thank you.
And then we will need to set a date, Mr. Chairman, while we're on the topic, whatever will work for the board it has to be put in the public hearing too, so we have to know that. The Thursday, the 26th, Monday, the 30th, or Tuesday, the 31st are the 3 dates that we need to consider tonight.
New dates again.
Thursday, the 26th, Monday, August 30th, Tuesday, August 31st.
30, 31, or
Anyone.
Thursday, 26th. Does
Can I
that work?
call into the call meeting? Because I was planning, I got some travel scheduled. Can I call in? And I'm okay.
Oh, yeah. So,
30th to 31st.
30th or 31st.
Are good.
Okay. And they did 30, 31 work, whichever one. Tom,
Either one.
either one. All right,
Just pick one. She can get it in the paper.
Sooner the better. We can do it Thursday. 30th.
Thank you all.
So you can have that.
30th.
30th, yes, sir.
Since it's a special called meeting, I think that the time can be, I'm not sure on the rules of procedure, on a special called meeting, is there a time that we, or can we? I think you can set your own time on a special called meeting.
Six
6.
o'clock,
6.
6 o'clock.
6 works for me.
Okay. Next is board appointments. Do we have anything new, Mr. Ash?
We do.
All right.
Proud to say that in, for planning commission, Mr. Philip Vaughn, lives in, Providence District. Long-time good standing citizen. Has agreed to, serve on that planning commission. And, has submitted his application.
Is that all we had? So we still liking, EDA.
So 2 out of 3, I'm working.
And I see Grayson County Senior Advocacy Committee has still got a vacancy there.
Yeah, I mean, we're at our minimum, we're functioning, but if you find somebody that, wants to serve on that, committee, we're meeting again on the 20th of August with District 3 to talk transportation ideas. So if anybody's interested, just, anytime, but we're okay right now.
What's the age requirement?
They gotta be breathing, that's about it. Legal voter maybe, but, really it's anybody, the idea here on this particular issue is transportation that will support anybody. But, somebody that,
55.
AARP card holder, not required, but, it wouldn't hurt because a lot of the stuff that this committee is discussing will affect everybody in the county. So if there's some younger folks that that might want to help out, that'd be great.
So we have 2, we have, 9th District Development Finance vacancy, Tracy Cornett will serve. With this pleasure of the board, we would like to do that one and the planning commission with Mr. Vaughn at the same time.
Yes.
I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Motion carried for Mrs. Cornett and Mr. Vaughn. Okay, county administrator report.
Mr. Chairman, I think we added
Yes,
on new business, the discussion by the finance director on the retirement option. Is that?
yes, we're gonna make a motion to add that back.
Well, I thought we kind of did that at the beginning, but if we need to, I think that's what we agreed to.
We did that.
It wasn't pretty how we did it, but we did it.
Thank you for letting me explain this process to you. To give you a little bit of history, back in the year 2000, the county adopted a local retirement option for county employees. This did not apply to any constitutional officer or constitutional officer employee. They were only employees of directly reporting to the county administrator through that organizational chart. The program was designed to help employees plan for their retirement, utilize a final work period, to train, give them some training time to train their replacement. They were able to retain an acceptable level of disposable income until becoming eligible for Social Security benefits, that sort of thing. It also establishes, an asset payable to them or their beneficiary. And, and then that was to the employee. To the employer, it allowed us to retain the experienced workforce for one more year after their VRS retirement. It did delay the replacement cost of that individual for a length of time. You could usually you were able to hire in employees at a significantly lower cost. It eliminated other costly early retirement incentives and slightly reduced payroll costs. And the work standards were based on a contractual agreement. That was in the original agreement, or the original plan. And again, that was established in the year 2000. In 2007, there was a resolution passed that brought this particular plan to an end. And I'll just read you that resolution that was passed in January 1st of 2007. Whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors participates in the local retirement option plan, and whereas other departments within the county no longer offer this benefit, and whereas the program has little or no positive benefits for the employer, therefore be it resolved that the Grayson County Board of Supervisors no longer offers this benefit to any employee whose date of employment is after January 1, 2007. So that, again, in 2007, it was done away with. However, the employees that were in the plan got to stay in the plan. We are down to 10 employees. And as you see on the agenda with Mr. Ron Cox, he is number 10. With your approval, with his participation in the program, there will only be 9 left. So we're slowly through attrition. This is completely coming to an end, but they were grandfathered in. It was a benefit that was not taken away from those employees. So now, to present day, gives you a little history lesson. To present day, with the change in the minimum wage, it changed the wording necessary for the original plan. The original plan required that 80% of the full-time hours be worked by the participant, but that they were never allowed to make less than minimum wage. With the increase in minimum wage, and then you do the math and you figure out 80%, the math didn't work. I had contacted legal with administration's permission. They worked through this with me, and that's how you see the proposed amendment to the plan in front of you. It's to take out that 80% requirement. It just really is based on which option that they choose. Now, originally, there were options for 4 years through 7 years. Let me make sure here, I have that in front of me. 4, 5, 6, or 7 years. Well, in doing my research, there was a precedent set that there was a 3-year option offered to participants, and that was way before any of our time here. So because there was the precedent set of a 3-year option, I did ask legal, what do we do here? And we either don't offer it or add the 3-year option in. So in discussing this back and forth, the other employees knew that the current participants knew that 3 years were offered in the past. So it was my recommendation and the lawyer's recommendation that we go ahead and add that to the plan so that we're operating within the plan guidelines. So that is the history behind this request and your approval of the plan. Once you have time to consider that plan and these amendments, then it would be time to approve Mr. Ronald Cox's participation in this plan. Now, he is a retiree, is kind of working quasi under this, under the guidelines set up by the plan, and this would just be finalized and given your blessing at your pleasure. Does that answer any questions that you might have?
Lisa,
Yes, sir.
what's the total financial consequences of doing this on an annual basis?
There's no change to the financial agreement to the plan as it is currently. The benefit is 120 times the final compensation spread out over 3 to 7 years. So there's no change in the financial responsibility or liability.
So there's no impact to the county for the budget.
No, there's no change in the liability, no, sir.
If the plan, how is it that, I realize this is water under the bridge, but how did they allow a 3-year option if it wasn't allowed in the plan?
I don't know, I can't speak to that, I'm sorry. I just have my historical files, that's all I can go by.
But how many folks participated that, if we don't know how it got implemented, how do we know who is operating under the 3-year plan?
I have the files. There were 2.
So it's 2 out of how many?
18.
And then I guess my last question is, from a timing standpoint, this doesn't sound time critical. It's just something, I know you said he's retiring.
He is already retired.
He's already retired. But if we do it now or do it next month or in end of August, does it matter?
I've been waiting since April, so I don't guess one more month will hurt.
He continues to work
Yes,
part-time.
he is continuing to work. He has actually completed his, I still operated as though he were under the old plan, calculated his hours. It is 156 hours that you saw in his agreement. He has all but met those hours and actually has agreed, we learned this week, to continue working as a part-time employee. He's a very dedicated and invaluable employee to the Public Works Department. His supervisors were almost jumping with joy that he agreed to stay a little longer.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll table this to the next meeting.
Be my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to table the next meeting, second.
Second.
And all in favor, aye? You hear that, Tom?
Yeah, I did, Ken.
Okay, all right, good to hear you there. Okay, we'll table that to the next meeting and, study a little bit more. So we done started that. So if you waited since April, hang in there one more month.
I will. Thank you very much for letting me explain the history and hopefully give you, and if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me.
Yeah, thank you to the board for letting Ms. Gayheart have this opportunity.
Okay, next, county administrator report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are we're pleased to announce that we have won a couple of awards from the Virginia Association of Counties. One was for broadband, the other was for some of the services that we provided during COVID-19. Virginia Association of Counties has asked to come to the next board meeting and present those awards at that time. And what I'd like to do with the board's permission is wait to get into the details of it when we have them come in and read what the statement is about what's been achieved.
Okay.
We have a broadband update that Carl Cadell put together. This is as of July 31st. APCO is currently working on segments 5 through 6. Segment 5 goes from Liberty Hill to Freeze, 0.73 miles total, 12.38 out of 20.4 miles, which is 61%. Segment 6 is from Rose Hill to Independence, 4.67 miles, for a total of 17.87 out of 19.3 miles, which is 93%. Total fiber project, 86.36 miles out of 237.5 miles have been completed, and that is about 36%. APCO selected the contractor and will splice the fiber in segments 1 through 3, which cover the initial areas of the fiber project around the areas of Elk Creek, towards Comer's Rock and towards Spring Valley. Beam has received the first batch of equipment that will be used to connect customers. Estimation of initial connecting of customers is still around the end of August and 1st of September 2021.
Any questions?
Just wondering if having they go down, it'd be good to have them down when we've actually connected somebody, you know, for the award presentation. And so, just for consideration.
Yeah.
September may be a little early, depending on how connections go, and if it makes sense maybe to do the award ceremony in October.
I think that's a good idea. They were pretty much open to when it made sense for us.
That way we're getting an award for something and we've actually
Yeah.
achieved some connections. It might just.
I think that's a good idea. Oh, yeah. Mr. Smith's gonna give you an update on the cigarette tax. The regional board.
The cigarette tax board actually met a couple of weeks ago, the first meeting. And I just wanted, the main thing I wanted y'all to see is that there are 12 jurisdictions that have joined this board. And 10 of the 12, the exception being Grayson County and the town of Hillsborough, have implemented the tax. And they all went with 40 cents. And so Hillsborough and Grayson County has a seat at the board, at the tax board, and we can hear what's going on, and we're a non-voting member. These other members are participating members of the cigarette tax board. They elected the chairman, the vice chair, and the treasurer, and all that kind of stuff. Mount Rogers Planning District is doing all the administrative work for these jurisdictions. And Aaron Sizemore, y'all know, is head of the Mount Rogers Planning District. He's putting all the administrative work together. Be hiring one person that will go out, the officer that will go out and make sure the stamps are being put on like they're supposed to be.
But we would become a voting member only if we adopted the tax, right? So right now, we're just listening to all the chatter, but since we don't have the tax and don't have a plan to put one in place.
We have a seat at the table.
Right.
Is what we have.
And what about the city of Galax?
Seat at the table.
Right.
Is what we have.
And what about the city of Galax?
City of Galax does not have, in Carroll County, does not have a seat at the table. Hillsville does, but the city
Galax and Carroll County did not join the
choose
board.
to join
They didn't even join the board.
the board. The others.
And they didn't impose a cigarette tax, right?
No, they can't.
They didn't join the board. You have to be.
Yeah. But I mean, could a county, I guess a county could impose it.
No.
They have to have it as a regional.
Yeah, you have to do this, the way it was passed in Jefferson, where you gotta actually have a cigarette tax board and run through them, and also that, and if they decide to do that, then they're gonna have a petition to join the board.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
this may be a crazy question, but you have to approve a tax, some level of tax. Does it have to be same level? Could you do something of lesser amount than 40 cents?
Yes,
See the board?
yes, I heard that. Well,
What if we approve a zero tax? We didn't get a vote from the board?
no. They won't let you pull that.
I'm not sure that legally would hold up. That's our tax. It's zero.
We can ask.
I can ask.
Hey, Tom,
Making a statement.
Hey, Tom, in all seriousness, what would be the benefit of that?
having a vote for it. I mean, why do they sit over there and waste your time if you're not gonna be able to vote on it? I wouldn't go, I wouldn't
That's
go.
interesting.
I wouldn't go. I mean, we got more important things to do than sit in meetings where we can't make it.
I think when we kicked it around, it was,
But
yeah, I see your
if the
point.
board took official action and voted our tax to be zero, I think they'd have to let it in.
Yeah, I see your point. I think at least the initial discussion when we joined the board was just to make sure we understood what was happening and for situational awareness, and if we chose to do it later, but I understand your point.
Yeah.
So you want to be on that board as the non-vote, as a voting member for zero tax, is that what you're saying?
I decline. I don't want y'all to dig me up in the grave out here in the western part of the county.
Okay, is that all from?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question. What, was there some talk at one time that we were not gonna be allowed on that board if we didn't implement the tax? Some members,
At this point, it looks like we're past that,
that was.
we do have a seat at the table. We just can't vote on anything. It gets us in to hear the conversation that's going on. At some point, if Grayson County wanted to join, which, right now our position is not to, and I can understand that when Carol Gay likes being in close proximity to us. So that's, right now.
There was conversation.
There was conversation at one point, whether we would even be allowed a seat at the table, but at this point, it looks like that's okay.
Galax didn't either, they didn't join the board.
They didn't join the board, and that has not been determined, that if later participants decided, hey, we want to join the board, how that's going to be handled.
That's what my question was, can they join later?
That still remains to be determined, and what procedures would be gone through, and this board could actually vote to not let them in.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Register speakers.
I don't know if I'm allowed to approach
Okay,
him,
we
but
have,
I'm letter.
one registered speaker.
Huh?
You got PowerPoint or anything?
Jason.
Jason Bananas.
Okay.
Yes. Apologize, I'm kind of working under short notice as well. I thought things would have been different this year, for our school. I'm here to advocate for my daughter, who's in, Grayson County Schools. It seems that there's gonna be a mandate that we're gonna have masks in school this year. As you'll see in my letter that I submitted, I don't know how much time you'll give me, I think I'm the only speaker, so if you let me go through everything tonight or not.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Is that already started? Okay. Basically, I provided you with the evidence on the backs. You'll notice that there is a whole bunch of citations. These are all peer-reviewed articles, and they're all authoritative resources. Masks do not prevent virus. It's just a fact. It's always been a fact, and it's demonstrated in my first paragraph, which I'll post on my website later. The virus is about 0.1 microns. That's about a surgical mask, like the one I'm wearing now, is actually the holes in the mask basically are 200 to 1,000 times bigger than the virus. That has also been a known fact. Children have already been proven not to be the drivers of this, and the opinion by the CDC themselves, after reviewing all of the studies worldwide, the CDC has found no reduction in viral transmission
with the use of face masks. So I don't know why we're doing it and allowing this governor to do this. He doesn't even have the authority to do it. And I've also printed off the stuff that he's used as authority. Why didn't he order it? He couldn't. So now he's using a legislative, executive branch office, Department of Health, to mandate orders. Under what authority? The governor's order for emergency has already expired. There is no current emergency in Virginia. If you can show that to me, I'll be glad. So I'm only here because it kind of, after the school board meeting, we thought we were gonna go a different way. And then a few days later, they had to rule, and evidently their attorney had said that they can do the doctor's notes. But I still don't even understand the logic behind that when we know they don't work. And we've all been wearing them, and we can actually prove harm. And then if we go back, I mean, we can, I'm sorry, I don't have much time, but I'll be glad to speak and spend as much time with y'all after this as much as possible. I've tried to narrow the scope just to masks right now. You know, as a paramedic, as somebody that's gone to college, you learn how to read medical journals, learn how to do this stuff, and knowing all of the PPE and all the regulations. I mean, I can show you in the OSHA manual that putting a mask, like the ones we're all wearing right now, is a violation of OSHA. And I mean, we can't have our teachers doing that. And the reason why I'm here, and I'll just end with this, I've got an 18-month-old son. When I took him to my daughter's counselor session, every time he gets approached by somebody in a mask, he thinks somebody's gonna rip his clothes off, poke him with the needle. And it's affecting him like you wouldn't believe. We are doing untold damage. We haven't had any studies to prove what kind of psychological damage we're doing. Thank you.
All right, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Be available for any questions.
Okay. We may be a little late getting back off of this meeting, but if you want to hang around, we'll be glad to talk to you. But we can't do question and answer.
I understand. I just want.
All right, no more public registered speakers. Have no board of supervisors time. Look for a motion now that we go into closed session. Discussion related to 2.2-3711, A1, A5, and A7. We're good.
Can you add A8?
A8. Okay, and A8 of same code number.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye. We're in closed session, 5 minute break.
Please.
Take your little break there, Tom.
Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you.
Well,
There you go.
I just want to help. I don't want y'all to be in trouble with it. Trying to get it out.